Howdy, champions! Welcome to another episode of Champions of Tabletop Podcast. I am your host, Matt, back for another week. And of course, my right-hand man, Dion, is with us as always. And we've got a little bit of a surprise for everybody. We got a new person sitting in the seat this week. We call him Big Box Mike in these parts. Mike, thank you for joining us and filling in for Shay. Shay, of course, had the opportunity to go to PAX this past week and got back pretty late time of filming. So we're going to give him the week off so he can get rested for next week. We know he's all that one game out. We won't say that game, but he is all that game out.
Yes, all that game out.
So we're going to...
Taking a break, breather.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not the con.
Yeah, put him on the bench.
Put him on the bench.
Get him a little rest.
He got it, I think, 1 o'clock last night. So
Cons are rough, man. Cons are rough.
Yeah.
Cons are rough. We're actually going to get to that in a little bit here, but so that's why you're not going to see Shay on this week's podcast, but we're looking forward to having him back next week. With that said, of course, before we get started with anything, we want to thank everybody. I think we got a paper play button from YouTube for crossing 100 subscribers. Yeah, it's like a paper play. It's got paper clips that make the little try. You didn't get that?
No, I didn't know.
I got it in the mail. It was awesome.
Was it?
Yeah, then I ate on it. Ate some pizza. It was a little greasy. Had to throw it away. But thank you to all of you out there who helped us cross that first century mark of subscribers. And for those of you who have not, we would love a subscription. And hopefully we can earn that with this week's episode. It takes 10 seconds. Just hit that button, like, comment, subscribe, anything to let us know that you like the content that we're doing. It means the world to us, right, guys?
Yeah,
it does. It does. I watch this show all the time.
It's the only reason we let him on.
It's true.
We gave him a trivia question before he was able to be on. He answered it half right, and we said good enough.
Yeah, that's all.
It's half of our show was just good enough.
Sure.
So
I can do good enough.
You can do good.
that's all I
I think
can.
he can go head to head with you in big box gaming Kickstarters. I think he buys just as much Kickstarters as you do.
It's true.
Well,
Until he now supports Voss Mania.
Together, if we both stopped kickstarting stuff, we could buy a mansion.
and also destroy Kickstarter.
Yeah, it would fail.
Single-handedly.
And with that, of course, we also want to get to our sponsors. We are entering a new month, which means we are actually partnering with somebody new this week, or I'm sorry, this month. And that is, of course, nobody other than Stonemaier Games. Of course, very famous for Wingspan, but also the granddaddy of big box games, Scythe, Viticulture, just to name a few, Expeditions, and then, of course, their new one,
Apiary, which is the bees in space.
Bees in Space.
If you read the reviews, it's the bee's knees, is what people are saying.
That's right. They're fleeing us here on Earth.
They are giving us a copy to give away at our Friday Night SmackDown event. So they're kind of supporting us and partnering with us this month. So we're trying to focus on their games here at Boss Media.
Yep. And if we're lucky, we may even have a very special guest at some point this month. Fingers crossed.
You already do.
Oh, that's poor Mike.
Sorry.
I mean, yeah.
Sure, Mike.
Yeah.
Mm.
Sure. With that said, we'll go ahead and we'll go to, we're going to slide right past that and get to comments. So this is our chance each week to highlight some comments. Of course, last week's video was a very special episode. We had Jamie from Boston Meeples and Van Ryder Games on the show with us. So we have Mid-Mitten Gaming who says, I think a solo variant to most games is overpushed at the detriment of quality. Some very bad solo modes and games are quite bad. So, thoughts on that?
I mean, we agreed to podcasts that are last week. If you watched the episode, watch, like, subscribe, click.
I was there, actually.
You were there?
I
totally missed you.
Like Dion, I don't really do solo modes. And I think a lot of the games have been implemented really, really, really poorly. And it just adds to like cost and unnecessary for a lot of the games that we play.
So great to have Mike as a part of our next solo. Best of.
Yep. I'm going to be doing a solo top 3. I'll be putting out here on YouTube shortly.
Our next comment from Madzu says, great content with the Think Sync. Love it, guys. I appreciate that comment. Obviously, we had a great time with that episode, watching Shay fall apart and throw about 550 words.
I did laugh out loud when I watched that again. So there's a comment in there that said I literally laughed out loud. That wasn't my comment, but I laughed out loud when I read the comment because I did the same thing. Just them going back and forth with him going, the one that you sleep or the one that you whatever. And I'm just like, she's saying that right where, and then she's laughing at him. It was a good episode.
We had Ed Robinson 3650 says, as a female viewer, so great, we have one.
Hey,
That's a start. You got to start somewhere,
Welcome.
boys. I love to hear a female voice in the conversation. Thanks for having Jamie on as your guest. And it was an
We tried to do that again this week, but we got the closest we could come.
But
That was actually my comment, so it's back down to zero. Man.
we were very lucky to have Jamie on with us, and hopefully sometime in the future we can have her again. Nat 20 Games says, I absolutely love the fact that I became a final girl for the game. My attributes were pretty on par for me too. That was your daughter,
Yes.
who had that experience that we brought up in the episode. Shutter King says, Matt, if we don't play the Wacky Races Hanna-Barbera game, then we're through as friends. Thanks for mentioning it, Jamie.
Oh, you got a
I
friend?
love that show growing up.
Whoa, pause the game.
Yeah,
Pause the
how about
whole thing.
that?
You have a friend?
Well, one.
One, and that's who's posting.
That's
your
it.
One friend.
But you know what? That's 100% success rate.
Yeah.
100%.
That puts you in the Hall of
And
Fame.
that's one more friend than me.
Brian says, as always, keep it going, boys. Jamie is super nice, and the fact she tolerated y'all means she should be sainted.
Agreed.
Cool to see the show growing. I think on the electronic version, if the release of the electronic is done well and comes after a successful release of the physical, then it likely doesn't hurt sales. I don't personally play many phone app versions, but a few on PC I play instead of solo. So proud of the work you guys are doing on this. Oh my God, I'm a little choked up reading this.
Yeah.
So with that will, of course, wrap up our comments for the week. Again, we love them. Keep them coming in, and we'll look forward to what you guys have to say after this week's episode. I was going to say debacle, but
This week
we're going to go with that. So with that, our next segment is going to be Fall on the Sword. And Dion, I'll let you go first. Anything you want to fall on the sword for?
Yes, I did.
Mm.
Byron from Van Ryder Games, not Brian. I don't know why I mixed his name up. Apologize. And also your wife, beautiful wife. Apologize. I mixed that up, but I did get AJ right, which I mean he's the star of the show. So, but I was wondering why Jamie was just looking at me in a stare. She could have been like, "No, dude, I don't know who you're talking about," but she didn't. She was like, "Okay, all right, buddy." And so that was kind of how. So I do apologize. I didn't get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I can't fall on my sword for that. But if you've watched the show to this point, you know I get every name wrong. And I just kind of put games together that is in my crazy head that's there. I try to explain the best I can, but I usually go back to the ones that I know.
Hey, I appreciate the humility. I know that's hard.
I have this thing called Dinglish. My wife calls it Dion's English, to where I just say things and it doesn't make real. It's like co-opetition. Because where you're playing a cooperative game, but you're also competing.
Yeah.
Just things like that. I just say stupid stuff like that makes sense in my beanie little brain, and people either catch on or I don't care.
Mm-hmm. All right. Other than that, I thought we had a great episode.
Yeah.
I'm going to give us a little pat on the back for last week. So, except for your horrible mistake.
Fair. That was my fault.
Was it Mike needs to fall on the sword. Oh, see that? Where's he been?
My fall on the sword is that I wasn't insistent enough to be on the show earlier. I think.
We needed Shay to call in sick for a day in order to be on the show.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to go ahead and move on to industry news. This is our chance to talk about a couple topics that are going on in the board game industry. This could be anything from classic tabletop games to miniatures, which is why I'm leading this into the next other game that we talk about, which is RPGs. Because here's a question for you guys. What do Beyonce, Michael Jackson, Queen, and Oasis have in common?
They're all musicians.
True. It's true.
Did I win?
No, but that wasn't what I was looking for. What they all have in common is they have also had the opportunity to sell out Wembley Stadium, just like Matt Mercer recently did with Critical Role. Last, I think, over a little bit about a month ago, they had the opportunity to perform a multi-day event doing their real RPG in front of over 12,000 people. Average ticket prices were anywhere from $80 to over $250 for VIP tickets, and apparently the event was massively well received. In fact, even just most recently, Matt Mercer said that his goal is with all the success of Critical Role, on top of things such as their animated show that they came out with as well, and now they want to be working on an actual video game. I don't know if maybe it was inspired by Baldur's Gate a little bit, but they're really taking this live action RPG play to a whole new level. So it kind of gets to the question of, so much of this really started from the COVID era. Obviously, a lot of isolation. That's really when people started looking for things on YouTube, and that's, I think when we saw this huge rise. Adventure Zone, I know, was another big one that a group of guys had that took off. And now we're kind of finding ourselves in this world where it's hitting a whole new level. So the question really comes down to, is this just kind of a bubble post-COVID, or is this kind of the future of entertainment?
Did you say that they paid $200 to watch people in a stadium play D&D?
Yes.
I'm in the wrong industry, guys. I'm in the wrong business.
You and me both, buddy.
Yeah.
I can tell you this, as a board game hobby shop owner, anything I buy from Darrington Press, which is a Critical Role guys, go very fast off my shelf. Like simple journals, dice, all that stuff. And it goes very fast because people are really hyped on this Critical Role thing. I don't know enough about, I like role-playing games a lot. I used to play them all the time. After COVID, I played them less because I wasn't going to do it online. And then after COVID, I just haven't found a group I'm comfortable with. So I think what I should do is probably take a back seat to this question, and let somebody that is more intelligent in the matter cover for me.
Oh. Whew. Wow. Big bunch of transitions here.
It was so dark.
Brandon. Producer Brandon.
Yeah.
How are you?
Oh, I'm good.
Welcome to the podcast.
I just finished watching every episode of Critical Role, so I feel pretty qualified, actually.
Well, why don't you kind of share with us? Because as we have been talking, this has become a big topic of conversation. And obviously, as we've proven, Matt Mercer knows what he's doing financially.
Yeah. The Critical Role phenomenon has just been massive. They started on Geek and Sundry years ago. And Geek and Sundry just took a chance on a ragtag bunch of friends that wanted to play D&D. And it just steamrolled into them making their own company, their own shows, their own board games, animated Amazon series. Man, it's big.
So I guess the real question, Brandon, to ask you though is at some point things start to peak, right? I feel like selling out Wembley Stadium feels a little bubble-ish. Is this something that you think can continue to escalate further? Like, how far can this really go? Like, is there a point where people fatigue of watching other people play D&D or Pathfinder or whatever?
I don't think they've peaked. I hear your argument, and it makes sense, but I don't think that D&D in general, in the massive growth that it's had in the last few years, has peaked. And that as D&D in general explodes and gets more and more people, that Critical Role, who is helping to grow the D&D brand, will also, like raising tide raises all ships. They will see continuous growth, in my opinion. But yeah, you're right. At some point it'll peak. I don't see that coming anytime soon.
I know couple years ago, some of my close friends were so excited to go see Adventure Zone, which was just another, group of guys who started in their family living room, and then they just happened to record it, and then they started putting podcasts out, and hundreds of episodes later, and they started doing a national tour and coloring books and all of these things. It's just, it's staggering to me because I know for myself, when I was at Gen Con, the hotel we were at basically had a room reserved just to watch an episode of it. And it just surprised me because that's something for myself. I've never understood the appeal of sitting and watching people play.
I think that has more to do with how we grow up, because we're roughly the same age, right? And when we were growing up, we had video game consoles that were not online. It was local play only. So you had your two older brothers playing the game, and you'd be stuck watching, and it was the worst feeling in the world. Like, watching someone play a video game was horrible. It's like, I'm not playing, I'm out of the picture. And then as years went on and everything became more online and more interactive, my kids love watching episodes of people playing games. And, like, I can't get behind it. But I think those people who are younger and kind of grew up on that, that's how they consume the content. And now they have money and they want more content. So yeah, I think I agree with Brandon that this is definitely still going to go bigger and not quite reach its peak yet.
So what does bigger look like in this space? Does it mean now we're going to sell at Madison Square Gardens? Does it mean that how do you scale something like that? I think it becomes the next question.
Well, I think it's hard to scale, 'cause especially with D&D. It's like if I was a music producer, I could play a song and I could sell out a stadium, and I could play that same song the next night and I could sell out that stadium again. If I'm playing D&D and what I'm doing is essentially canon, after I'm done with that show, I can't redo that show. I can't redo the dice rolls.
Right.
I can't, if a character dies, I can't bring them back to life.
That's not true.
Do it on, I mean, maybe, but either you're ruining kind of the canon of it and you're saying, I'm going to do another show the next night because we got so big we have to do 2 shows, and we're restarting the same point, both shows.
Or you could just do like one shot, I guess, right?
Yeah, you can do a one shot and then you're redoing the one shot.
Why wouldn't they do a continuation though? That would make a ton of money.
But then the same people would buy both tickets.
Well, I mean, you do one in Texas and one in California, and you go to Michigan and do one. It would definitely reach more of an audience like that. But if you do a continuation, people are going to want to buy like the extra DVD or download the episodes. And
see, and this kind of gets into my issue of like why I don't like soap operas. Why when a streamer talking about watching people play video games, like, that's a huge money world now with Twitch. But why I could care less to watch a streamer play a campaign game, because if you miss 20 minutes, you're kind of lost. You know what I mean? Like, so back to this. Okay, so they play Wembley Stadium one night, and then they go to Stamford Bridge the next night and play there. Well, the problem is that how do you have any continuity? Do people just not mind missing an episode, missing what happened that last episode? Like,
they're all put on YouTube.
Yeah,
you can see everything on YouTube.
But so people watch every episode.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, they're long too. They're a couple hours.
Kind of like our episodes.
Hours. Yeah, but they're 350 episodes in. We're at 7 or 8.
Man, I don't know. Like, to me, that just seems like one of those topics that I'm glad that it's there for people who find interest in it. To me, Matt Mercer is just always going to be McCree in Overwatch, though.
Noon. But I mean, I'm glad it's there for the people that want to play D&D. They want to experience D&D, but they don't have 6 friends. They don't have a DM that wants to do it. And every day or every week they can turn on, is it Thursday yet? Which is the slogan for the people that don't watch Critical Role, and experience a game of D&D with very high quality professional voice actors doing a high quality performance, and be a part of it, even though they can't, find friends.
So what I'm hearing is that they should watch our episode first on Thursday to warm them up into Critical Roles.
Yeah, unless watching our episode makes them, not want to watch YouTube anymore, and then that might hurt a little.
Okay. Welcome
All right.
back, Dion.
Really?
Did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I
You banished
did
Brandon
watch.
again.
I did banish him back to his hole where he belongs. I did watch Harmon's Quest, which I really like. If you're not watching Harmon's Quest, it's amazing. It's like 3 seasons, a great show by the guy Dan Harmon who does.
Community.
Yes,
Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty, great. It's hard to find, but his episodes, if you like watching D&D, it's actually all animated and it's great. But anyway, I just wanted to give a shout out. That's all I got. That's my vast knowledge.
Well, welcome back.
Yes.
Glad to have you here on my show.
Yeah. Mike's taking over. Mike take over right across the top. Mike's take over.
Well, all right. So we'll go ahead and move on to the second topic. Of course, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that PAX Unplugged just wrapped up in Philadelphia. Just like we had mentioned last week's episode, Jamie had mentioned she was going to go with Foster the Meeples. And our good friend Shay, of course, that's why he's not here tonight, was also fortunate enough to be at PAX Unplugged. And with that said, it kind of brought up some conversation around conventions. This one in particular didn't sound like there was a lot of big events or big news per se that came out of this event. It seemed like it was more of a experience to enjoy playing some of the games that are on their way out, but no real big headlines as we've kind of scoured the news cycle looking for information from PAX. But it kind of brought up the topic of the role of conventions and what they play with board games, because they are such a big cultural part of the hobby. And so that kind of leads us into, what do you guys look for out of a convention?
Well, I actually built my store around the convention experience, right? Teaching games. We have game masters that are teaching you games at the table. We're doing demos. We're running events. I built it around the same idea as how I would want to go to a convention, but it's here locally. So it's always run, 7 days a week. So we have members that come in and run events, very similar to having guest people coming in and going. So I built my store around that same idea of a convention. If you're a member, you just come and go as you need to. If not, it costs you a little bit for the day pass, and you're good to go. So with that being said, I am a huge fan of conventions. I did not get to go to Gen Con this year, but in my previous, before COVID, before the blip, I was actually pretty heavy going to Gen Con every year. It was one of my favorite things to do because Gen Con's so close to us here. Another thing I really enjoy as well is trying to go to a lot of the retailer events now because it's completely different. And I get my eyes on things like Tocado Duo that just came out, I got 6-7 months ago. I was able to demo that. Like, oh, this is really good. I'm ordering more of these. So I do enjoy that almost more than the public-faced conventions. But I did the same as you. I scoured the internet for PAX Unplugged, see if there was anything that was really popping that we could talk about during the episode. And to be honest with you, a lot of negative reviews were given about PAX and PAX's experience. Now, keep in mind, they are only been doing this for 5 years. So you got to give them credit for still doing it anyway. And then also they lived through the downtime that we had. So
I like to call that area of opportunity for growth.
Well, and it is. I mean, I'm surprised that they seen how Gen Con was the biggest ever, and then 3 months later they kind of struggled with their show themselves. But I don't want to dog on them. I can't even imagine how difficult it is to put something like that on, to have vendors, and every vendor has a need and a want that you're trying to provide for them, table space, whatever it may be. I can't even imagine the headache. Just doing the store, I have headaches of just 65 events a month. I can imagine doing 350, 400 events in 2 days.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's insane to me. So the respect level is definitely there with them and everybody that was part of that staff. But I think they had a little bit more people show up than they expected. I think they were a little overwhelmed. I think some of their table space wasn't expected to be as busy as it was. So I think the people that went had some good points and some bad points, but there wasn't anything that was a big, massive release that people wanted to see. So I think that's where just time of release,
Yeah, the industry is still geared towards the big releases for Gen Con, I think. And it sounds like PAX had a lot of growing pains they needed to take care of. Yeah, I didn't see anything from PAX either. I think I saw a couple of videos of them showing the Lorcana line and it being like empty.
Really?
Yeah. I was surprised by that.
The kindness dying. You hear it here first. No?
No, I don't think it's
They're calling the shop big box.
Yeah. Or kind of nobody likes
Put it in a big box. Mike's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm waiting until the season 5 collection from 1 through 5.
Yeah, and all the minis.
All the minis for the cards.
That'd be
Sun drops.
MSRP about $1,000.
Right. He doesn't even sniff it if it's less than 500.
Yeah, it's not for me.
I would say, to me, what PAX Unplugged feels like is, kind of its namesake of PAX East, PAX South. It's kind of that in-between hype event to keep things top of mind within the industry. Obviously Gen Con, to kind of correlate it to like video games, E3 was always like the mecca event that every video game fan wanted to be a part of. It was where all the new releases were, the hype, the marketing teams were at, all of the big grand conferences from the different companies. To me, that's Gen Con in our industry, or Essen, Spiel, obviously being the biggest one. And so to me, something like PAX Unplugged is just a great way. Same thing with Origins coming up, beginning of next year, or April time, I think it is. I think those kind of events really just help chime in with reasons why you should stay excited, things to keep looking forward to, another opportunity to get your game in front of people. So I think, from what I have read, it sounds like, again, some of the structure of it maybe even created issues with that. Some people feeling like they couldn't get opportunities to play games, which is kind of the whole point of a con like that, is to get your hands on the product. So I could see that being a little bit of a frustrating thing, especially when you calculate how expensive it can be to go to these events, between hotels and food and gas and tolls to get into certain states. We live in a state that doesn't have tolls, so take that. But it's one of those.
Are the worst, I think. So you can't say that. You're like, take that, but our roads are crappy.
It's nothing better than being on your toes all the time when you drive, like avoiding potholes that can kill you.
Yeah.
So
take that, Ohio.
Just the armpit of Michigan. Let's not forget that.
Okay.
But yeah, so I think for what it is, I think it probably did an effective job. But to me, the role for something like Gen Con is, having just gone to my first one, spent way too much money, walked away trying to figure out how to carry everything, realized day one you need a wheelbarrow, and feeling like every day I was in the convention hall for 8 hours and it felt like 2 hours every day, because there was so much to see and so much just experience to take in, meeting people, sitting down and playing games with just people you would never in a million years ever just have a reason to sit down and play with. So I think they're kind of what makes this industry kind of special.
I broke 2 bags at Gen Con this year.
Did you?
Yeah, I overloaded them, broke 2 of them. Straps ripped right off. It was great.
You see, there was pictures from Gen Con that I was looking through, and I was like, oh, I can't even get that yet. Or, that's supposed to be, Great Western Trail, New Zealand. People bought that there, and I'm like, I don't even get it for another 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Gen Con. So you're talking about the biggest in the United States versus the PAX. So it's a little, but every picture I've seen from PAX, I go, I have that on my shelf.
Mm-hmm.
Just ordered some of them, that type of thing. So it wasn't anything that.
Well, actually, that leads into a question I would have for you, Dion, is as a store owner, does that, seeing the results of a show like that, does that spark purchasing habits to have at the store? If you see, use Sky Team, because that was like a big one at Gen Con. If Sky Team is still a huge talked about game at PAX Unplugged, does that motivate you to be like, oh, I need to have more of these in store?
No, because it's always, what have you done for me lately in board gaming? It really is. And with ordering, as you're asking about, it becomes with a problem, and I struggle with this, and I don't know, I hope other stores do, or I'm the only one, that you order and you go, okay, I'll take a case of that. And then you sell out real quick, and you go, oh, give me 3 more. Okay, boom, you sell out real quick, and then you go, oh, give me 3 more. And then those 3 will sit there for a year, because everybody who wanted it got it, whether it was from different areas or different, avenues. Whoever wanted it got it. So you kind of have to figure out, just like anything in the industry, your saturation point of when you've said, okay, everybody that's got it. But there's some games that I put on my shelf and they sell the day up, and then I will never order again. because nobody come in asking for it. You know, and I'm pretty good about taking pictures and sharing it with the community and seeing, you know, our new stuff that we've got in. I try to focus on that. I fell off a little bit, but so no, it doesn't. When PAX still hyped it up, I don't get, oh, they should really reorder more of that. And to be honest with you, there wasn't anything that I seen in all the pictures of scrolling on the many Facebook channels I'm on and the many YouTube channels I follow. I wasn't like going, oh, I mean, there was some cool stuff going into that people were excited about that I'm waiting. Maybe a few days down the road, I'll see some reviews on how cool that was. There was a roll and write one. There was an 18xx roll and write, which I don't really care for roll and writes. I don't really care for 18xx, but you got my interest. Like, let me see how this works together. So stocks and bonds where I'm rolling and that kind of thing. I don't know, let me check it out. So I'm interested in one of those that had like a cat and trains. Anyway,
Cat and trains.
yeah,
My
I'm telling you,
favorite
it's,
type of
well, I'm just saying, I was really surprised that someone's like, hey, let's throw this in there and this, you know.
It's like they had a jar, and they're like, idea jar.
Yeah.
Cats. Love it.
Have you ever played
Love
Endless
cats.
Winter? Have you played Endless Winter yet?
Trains. We got it, boys.
We got
Let's round this one up.
We've got Boop. We've got 18xx. Bam.
It's together.
It's a game.
What were you saying?
Have you ever played Endless Winter?
I have Endless Winter.
Okay. So you ever played it though with my
I said I have Endless Winter.
So you've never played it.
Mike, how about you?
Have you played Endless
No,
Winter? Right?
I don't
have
have
it
either.
right over there. Anyway, I think they all got around and put every like type of game
Oh
to
no,
be
I
made.
have played it in
And
the
I think we played it together
Yeah.
a little bit. Anyway, every type of game that ever was created, like deck building or engine building or
It is
whatever it is,
hodgepodge.
and they just shook it up in a jar and they were just sitting around going, let's create this, and whatever it was, and they made it work in the game, and they was like, we're pulling 8 of those different ones out of the 25 different ones that are available or something. And it just felt like they put it all together. And it works pretty decent because it's action placement. But it is one of those games that I'm just like, man, this is like a lot to accept.
It is, and then every expansion is like a new mechanic that just throw in
They're
there.
like, let's throw in rolling right now. Here's an expansion where you got
We're gonna be
rolling right
painting
finder.
and new pictures.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
all right.
Set
And in our
collection.
newest
Oh.
expansion, we have bingo version.
Yeah,
Play
every
bingo.
mechanic you can
And
think
now
of in a game, they
hidden
just
trader.
shook in that jar and then pulled out. So you guys were joking about that one. That's exactly what I felt like. And I was like, I'm not sure, but I played it. I was like, it's kind of goes, it's okay. Like, I can play this game.
But it does have a woolly mammoth miniature.
It does.
Check.
When Dion is doing his ordering for the store, he's always like, "What's that one game Mike is going to buy right away?" He tries to find it.
I do. I
But-
try to find that one.
So Gen Con, I attack Gen Con like I'm playing Diablo. It's like loot and move, carry on. Like I want to see the new shit, new stuff. I want to see the cool stuff.
Dinkers.
I would,
Good job.
Good job. Sorry, I apologize. And then smaller conventions like MidCon or even like Origins or PAX, that's where I want to play games. Like I want to go and meet people, play. Like you cannot play games at Gen Con. It is, I mean you can, but I don't really enjoy it. Like you're in that big hall and there's just people walking by and it's loud and you've got like people trying to officiate the games and it is chaos. It is chaos.
I think it's the
fun.
events after that really get you a Gen Con, like getting together after and being like, look at the cool thing I bought. Let's play
Yeah,
it together.
but I mean, I went with Mike, Alpha Mike, and Lindsay and his kid, and we went back to the Airbnb we rented and played games there. But it wasn't like I was meeting people and doing stuff. And we even went to the big hotel where they had the open gaming area,
Mhm.
and like nobody new came and played Thunder Road Vendetta with me, and I wasn't sad about it for months afterwards. But yeah, so and well, you can do that in Origins and PAX. Meet people to play games. Like, hey, look at this cool thing I got at Gen Con. Let's play it.
And I also think things like AdeptCon, is a great example of a convention built around a community specifically just to celebrate a game. Brandon, if he was still sitting in your seat, I know he's a big advocate of Free Blades,
Mhm.
and he has won. He actually sent me his pictures, and maybe we could post them in the video here. But he actually has 8. He's an 8-time champion of several different games. He won Warhammer 40K several times. Free Blades, he's been there to represent for. And to me, those are celebratory cons, right, of a game specifically. Which I think if I was super engaged with one, kind of like BlizzCon. Like growing up, for me, BlizzCon was like the mecca of cons that I wanted to go to. This is like
I went-
pre like 2015 and beyond, but BlizzCon was always kind of like the one I wanted to go to because it celebrated everything that I was so passionate about.
Well, and the cons that you mentioned are almost like wargaming.
That one is, yeah.
So they're all like take a different type of tabletop game, wargaming, and you're bringing the best of your best, and you're going in with a competition attitude, which Gen Con has a good, big, huge hall for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always like just walking through and look at their miniatures or look at their. One of the best things I think is the the terrain that they build are just beautiful. Take pictures. I always take pictures and send them because that's the best things about those cons. I think for that, but. I think it's a different feel though when you're going to like a wargaming con. It's less I'm here to buy stuff and more
It's a celebration of a game.
it's
I'm competition.
More here to compete in this game because I'm really good at it or I think I'm really good at it.
Yeah.
One or the other. And they have things like painting competitions and those, which are really good additions to. I know they have like paint and take and other events at like Gen Con or other places, but I don't.
Well, I think a good way to put this is Gen Con is kind of like or PAX. Is a great celebration of just the hobby itself.
Yeah, I agree.
Whereas again, you get to these more niche cons, and it's really a celebration of something very specific that people are passionate about. Like I said, DevCon. If you're playing a tabletop game, shout out to my good buddy Matt, who I do have to say just not myself, my buddy Matt, who just won his local regional Star Wars Legion tournament. So he'll be at DevCon this year. So hope for the best for him, but.
Shout out to my good buddy Dion. He, not me.
Shout out to Mike.
For what?
But I think, like I said, those more niche ones, like I said, I think that they're actually really even more special because they're targeted on something very specific. And for the people who are in on it, it's like there can't be a better experience than walking in and, if you love that tabletop wargaming world, I have to imagine at Death County, you walk in and just everything is like that. For me, it'd be Crokinole, right? You walk into the Moose Hall and they give you your free bottle of maple syrup and you're like, let's go, let's Crokinole all day long. 50 Tracy boards lined up. I mean, I'm in heaven.
I want to play it. I want to play Crokinole. I haven't played it.
You got really quiet there.
I'm being very respectful.
Which, by the way, Crokinole was very well represented. Shay did give us the feedback. He said that there was like 30 to 50 Crokinole tables sponsored by Tracy Games, which Tracy Games, just so you know, we would love to be partnered with you.
It's one of the biggest board games of all time, Crokinole.
Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely. I like this guy. I like this guy. I mean, even Jamie last week, Jamie Canadian says, yes, absolutely. It's a board game.
Do you need me to shine your shoes too?
I love it. Just make sure you snuff the steak out of his.
Or Shay agrees with you guys too. I don't know. I'm on my own here.
Jay, this is job security for you.
So bottom of the line here is that Gen Con conventions, great resource for hyping up games, but
well, and there's good and bad. I mean, you get a little bit of both. So I mean, that you're gonna have good conventions and bad conventions. It's your individual experience and what you go in expecting is gonna come out. It's kind of what you're gonna get from it.
Yep, absolutely. I hope you're ready.
I'm ready
because it's time.
I wasn't ready.
You weren't ready. Nobody ever is. This is where it gets intense, Mike. Hope you brought your A game and your B game because you need all the game. And don't do it, Dion. Like, don't sit on the fence.
I don't fence it.
Good.
I'm not built like
it's not comfortable to sit on the fence. I want answers. I want you to go at this with all intensity. So, no surprise here, everybody. It's the holiday season. Great time to play games with family. So this is going to bring out the pit question, which is, with the holidays here, is it best to bring out a nice light game so everybody can have a laugh, good time, grandma can play, the 8-year-old can play, and just be silly? Or is it time to say, I've got extra time off, clear the table, I'm bringing a game that has a board game geek weight heavier than Santa's sack out, and I'm playing. Okay, hold on.
Get yo.
Hold on.
Phrasing.
Do you want ants? This is how we get ants.
Hold on.
This is how we get ants.
Hold on.
That's right.
So we want just the heaviest game out because we've got time to play. Mike, you're new to the pit. You're the newbie. So fresh. Your skin's so soft over there. You haven't been scarred yet. What are we gonna do here?
The nerves, they're creeping up my stomach.
Okay.
Gotta hold on. This is when you go heavy. You've been pumping up your family all year. You have Thanksgiving. You brought out your the code names on Thanksgiving. You brought out your crypto on Thanksgiving. It's time to start playing games. I tried this last year. I actually got them up to playing board game.
But if you say Twilight Imperium,
No,
kicked off
no.
the show. You're done.
No,
You're sitting down, family, for 8 hours. Like it or love it, you're here. No, it's not what you did.
no, I can't think of this.
Santa doesn't come until we play.
From Ivy Studios. This is when everything falls. Every episode, when you hit the pit, Dion loses it. He's too tired. He cannot go on.
That's what it is.
Matt loses his ambitions, starts throwing out innuendos,
I didn't mean to. It wasn't intended.
and Dion can't handle it.
No,
And
go ahead.
yeah,
So you're just going thick and heavy.
yeah.
Now we know Big Box Mike only likes them big and thick at the holiday season. Dion, what are we gonna do here? I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. Give Dion some time here to recuperate because
Yeah.
he's all emotional about the holiday season.
It is.
Doesn't know how to react. You don't even know what he wants to say right now. I'm gonna tell you what the answer is. You got to keep it light. You got to stay on your toes. You got to bob and weave because you got the cousins over. You got the 8-year-old with the 10-year-old. You want to play some games. Grandma can't play Scythe. She doesn't know what's going on. She's not in trivia, playing detective. She's not doing Twilight Imperium or Eclipse. She doesn't care. She just wants to play some nice light games. And for me, to me, the holidays is about getting around the table with as many people as you can and loving that time together. And so for me, I'm gonna go with the light games, just to get as many plays in as I can.
So do you not have like a real family?
I
Because when we get around the table, I mean, back in the day before board games, you threw out the spoons and people broke fingers.
Yeah.
That's what you do with family, right? And I think last year we actually got the Veiled Fate, and I saw my aunt cussing out her own child because she lost to this game, and it was beautiful. It was the best Christmas present I think I've ever gotten.
well, did you have like the metal version too?
Yes.
So it was actually dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Started chucking pieces.
Yeah, it was. I mean, this close to a board flip. I've never witnessed a real life board flip.
Well, let me put it,
This was the closest I got.
let me
Was
put it
on-
this way: with my family, cover your assets is a little bit of a brain burner. All right, so we're not going deep here. Princess Jewelry game that comes out. Pretty
Wow.
princess.
That's really, really light. I would go more. You have to have introduction games for people that don't play games. And it's hard to find those games to where everybody at the table can enjoy them. Those are the games that you pull out.
Mhm.
The Seven Wonders Architects, the Garden Guests, the trying to just think of other ones that I've talked about in the past that kind of brings back my memory. But you have to find those games that everybody at the table without real hard complications.
Mhm.
And I can understand if they like it, step them up. If they like it, step them up again. So you start with, I feel what I call, you start with an appetizer,
Mhm.
something everybody can play at the table. Then you step them into something a little
Start to
harder.
Separate the weak from
And
the strong.
that's it. And you'll see the table slowly drift away because mom's just had enough and she's like, okay, this is where you lose me, and you take it to the next step and the next step, and then you're left there at 9, 10 o'clock at night with just the real gamers at the table.
This sounds like an on the fence answer.
It is not
what
an
he
offense.
does.
That's exactly what it. You asked me my opinion or what
This
I
is
do.
the thing. You
what
take
I
the
do.
side. This
No.
is the 9th episode.
After the
This
kids
isn't new.
after the kids go to bed, you pop out the heavy stuff or the really fun adult stuff. Whatever it is that you're into, you do that. It's fun.
Well, I think the answer for this week's pit is really just spending time with family. However you can do it, whether it be light or heavy, just getting the time with families this
Is that your-
holiday season.
Is that your opinion?
Yeah. If
You're
you're,
not
not,
just a
if you're not winning, you lost.
That's a factual answer, is what it is. Don't take away from family. All right. So, Mike, congratulations on barely surviving your first pit. It's great to have you here. So, with that said, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next segment that we have for this week, and that is going to be the game of the week. That'd be cool if like we had a song for that. Game of the week, game of the week, game of the week. Look out, everyone's game of the week. That Dion, why don't you go ahead and kick us off this week?
Game of the week.
Our game of the
You're going to be surprised because I don't pick games like this. And we did a free play day, and I played it, and I stayed away from these games because you see them at every hole in the wall, like FYE, Myers,
FYE?
Walmart.
Like that record store?
You can tell. I can tell you're older than me.
Okay, so you see them in every, like in the mall. That's where FYE.
You can tell you're older than me. Mall.
Oh,
Okay, boomer. So it is actually trekking through history. It's actually a lot of fun. I taught it 4 or 5 times on Sunday. Everybody that played it enjoyed it. I like it for a different reason is every card that you're picking has a point in history. And I'm learning, actually, believe it or not, I'm learning about some things in history that I had no clue about. I'm picking it up, putting it down. There's a little like spiel on the back of it. You're trying to keep the longest timeline as you can keep to trek through. And you're also filling in a little,
Like this Lewis and
points.
Clark kind of stuff, or is this?
It's like, what do you mean by Lewis and Clark? You're not racing like in Lewis and Clark.
Well, I
Because
meant like
everybody-
history.
Oh yeah, it's very
Like
historic.
Lewis
Like
and
it's
Clark
real
history,
history of the whole
Magellan.
world. I mean, you're starting from like 2200 BC or something ridiculous far back, and you're trying to keep the longest trek as possible. And there's 3 days that you're playing through, and each day you can continue with, and whoever has the longest trek will get certain points at the end of the game.
Yeah.
You also get the little pieces are really good pieces. They're not like cardboard like I would imagine in a game like this. The little puzzles, like I said, it's not a real brain burner of like, oh my gosh, this is a really good. It was surprisingly fun. And I highly recommend that to anybody at the table that has that medium, like already past the beginners group, but also aren't into the heavy group. I highly recommend trekking through history, or I go to a lot of schools and I teach games at schools. I'm definitely taking this one with me. It is such a great, I learned, a few key things that I thought, oh, I didn't know that. And it kind of jokes that like one of the things you can do is you pick it based on the time, and you have this time board, and for everybody has this time board, and you pick the year that you're going to, and it'll say like measure yourself against a Napoleon. And so then you read the back, and you actually like it'll tell his height, and it'll talk about how he was one of the smaller guys, but he was actually whatever. And you're like, oh, that's cool. And then you put it down, and so you're going through history and you're creating the story. And at the end, you're like, yeah, I might have lost, but I did some, I got some pretty cool things in the history part. I don't know how the repetitive play would be, because after a while, I think I could.
How many times can you learn about the height of Napoleon?
Or how many times, how many? But you still based on what cards come out, because it's like a deck builder type of style where you have a river. So based on the cards that come out, it's going to change quite often, because there's a pretty big deck of cards for day 1, day 2, and day 3. So I could see some replay value. I just don't know if after I figured out like, oh yeah, I can pull this off, how much fun it'll be. But I did enjoy it, and that's my game of the week.
Nice. Mike?
I'm going to say Dead Reckoning from AG, made by John DeClaire.
Yeah.
I had a friend come up and visit me for my birthday from Texas, and he really liked that game the last time I brought it in, so I hadn't played it in a while, and I pulled it out, and it was, forgot how much I liked that game. And not to mention, I also just got the Kickstarter expansion.
There it is.
Hey,
You knew that was coming.
All
yeah.
the pieces are amazing because he has the Kickstarter. So
Yeah,
he's got like
yeah.
the barrels.
The gold coins in that game are by far the nicest coins in any game ever. They're fantastic. And I got the mats, and I got the upgraded buildings, so I actually had minis for buildings. But all that aside, just icing on the cake. The game itself is fantastic. It's a card crafting game. You're sailing around the ocean, you're taking over islands, you're fighting other pirates, and you're building your crew to do whatever it is you need to do to win the game. And then there's like 10 different paths to victory. So it's a very interactive game, and it's what I'm fond of is player interaction in games.
And what I did like about that one, Dead Reckoning, is the card building where you're sliding things in and you're giving
Clear cards.
Yeah, the clear cards. I really liked the sleeves and the way that you slide in and upgrade your pirates that are on your ship. I really enjoyed that about it. I think that was unique enough that there's only a few games that I can think off the top of my head, like 3,000 Scoundrels, that had something unique like that I really enjoyed. And I think that they did a really good job of reckoning.
Well, that was one that I missed first time through Kickstarter, and I was able to get the second reprint. So it's sitting at my house. I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but that's one that when I saw it come back out, I was like, I'm not going to miss this one again. So it's good to hear that. And the reviews on it were incredible. I mean, everybody across the board just really highlighted how much they loved it. But I am surprised from a realtor perspective because it's AEG, so it's surprising that hasn't come out yet.
Well, from a retail, you mean? Well, I ordered after the first copy was done, they released it to everybody. They said, oh, you can get copies. And I went on and ordered everything you can get on Kickstarter. I ordered like all the little extra pieces. And I had like 2 or 3 of those coming. And then they hit me up and say, hey, we didn't fulfill some things. We have to pull your order of retail off. And then to be honest with you, I never really followed up correctly with it. So I was like, oh, for you guys, I'll go somewhere, because it's always, what have you done for me lately?
Right.
And so I just moved elsewhere. And there is a couple, I know I have a couple members here that have been on me about, hey, I want to get that when it comes in.
Yeah.
But they have a list of 800 other things that I can get them. So
Right.
I just never went back to AEG and did that. But I do, I haven't had many. I think Planet Unknown was another one that was like, here, you're getting so many. And then they said, oh, no, you can't get those because we got to take those back and put them over here, which is fine. I mean, shortcomings, I'd rather the people that paid for it up front get it. But I would like to have it in my store as well.
Yeah. Well, mine, I'm barely dealing with it, came prepared, is going to be Turing Machine.
Go ahead.
Do you have it?
Yeah, right there.
There you go. Oh, there you go. We're a boy.
I have mine out in my car. You want me to go grab it?
No, not at all.
No, I came prepared. That's
Not a boy.
Cool. I didn't know we were preparing.
All right, so this one. I have been playing this quite a bit with my son lately, and I have to say, I was at first a little skeptical about it because there's a little bit of nuance to it. You have to find the secret code. All codes are going to be 3-number codes. And what you'll do is you're going to basically use question cards with the numbers that you kind of initially pick. And you're going to kind of test them against these solution cards. And the solution cards are going to give you a check mark to say, yes, your question is correct, or X, your question is no. And then basically with that information, you're going to, round after round, kind of deduce, are my numbers correct that I think the number could be? And what you're trying to whittle it down to is finding what the answer to the problem is. And they're always 3-number answers. So overall, it's a great logic puzzle type of game. But what I think I love the most is the support of the game, too, because not only does the book come with 20 questions, which I think we got through 3 in like maybe 25, 30 minutes, but they have over 7 million puzzles online. So the amount of times you can play this are genuinely limitless. But for me, I think it's just wonderful to be able to sit down with my son and just see the way his brain works. I think that was the part that kind of blew my mind, was a couple games where it's like, here I am in the second round thinking I'm so smart because I have the solution. And at the end of each round, you have to decide, do you know the answer, or do you need to next round get more clues? So you both put your hands out, and then you go 3, 2, 1. And then if you think you know the answer, you put thumbs up. If you don't, you put thumbs down, and then next round starts. Well, every time I was so excited, second round, okay, thumbs up. His little thumb would go up. God, it make me mad, because it's like I'm 42, he's 10, and he is on par with me. So really neat to see that, the way that his logic skills were. So if you have those people in your life who love logic, Sudoku, Wordle, that kind of game, and think that kind of strategy, this could be a wonderful addition to the collection. So that is my game of the week this week. So with that, we are going to move on to Dion, who has this week's Feet to the Fire.
So this is going to be a little longer, Feet to the Fire, so we're all going to burn up in it. But there is something, I read this thing recently because I'm looking into development and so on. And there was a list of a collective game design rants by Mac LeBlanc. And I wanted to know, if I'm going to read these off to you. No, he's not. But there's a list of 8 kinds of fun, is what he calls it. So there's 8 kinds of fun in board gaming. And I want to know which level of fun that you would select, or you would put yourself under.
Okay.
So Feet to the Fire is more of a relaxed Feet to the Fire. It's just a little toasty, not really I'll make it easy tonight.
Like
Okay?
campfire.
So he says 8. I think there's a 9th one that they talk about on BGG as well. That's kind of neat. But this is one, sensation, which game is sense pleasure. So it gives you the sense pleasure of the sensation. There's fantasy, so you get a game as a make believe. A narrative, your game is an unfolding story. A challenge, which game is an obstacle course. Fellowship, which game as a social framework. Discover, which game as an uncharted territory. Expression, game as a soapbox. And then submission, where game is mindless pastime. You're just submitting to the game. I think one more is domination. I think that's another feel of like not domination.
Well,
You're
if you got
thinking of, Mike.
submission,
I live that every day.
I think that that's probably that's what they argue about. Is it 9 or 8? But I'm doing a lot of like background on game development because we have a Gamesmith club here, and a bunch of the gamers around here meet and talk about development and building. And Shay's part of that group, and this made me pull this list, thinking I wonder where you guys fall. So starting with you, Mike, since you're the fill-in tonight, which one of those would you say out of the 8 I named? You only named one, well, probably 9. Would you say really brings you to the table?
Discovery. Did I do that right? Nice and fast.
Nice and
game?
fast,
Yeah.
You
The
didn't
game
think-
is uncharted territory. You like to unchart the territory
Yeah.
that you don't know, and
Absolutely.
Huh?
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't one that I say I would like, which would be like interaction. But I think that's the closest thing to it is discovery.
can you name a game that Discovery you felt this was like a Discovery type of game for you?
I mean,
That falls
you
in
got
with
the Frosthaven Gloomhaven games, which I really liked. Dead Reckoning, definitely. Edge of Darkness, another John DeClaire game. Let's see. I'm gonna let this pass on to Matt.
Okay, Matt, which one?
I would say it's narrative, probably. I love a game that tells a really good story.
Unfolding story for you.
So games
Be
like
it,
Destinies, Oathsworn, my father's work. I think those are great examples of game that you can just kind of get immersed, but yet it's doing the work for you to bring the story to you. With my job all day, my brain is constantly having to work to solve solutions and problems. So when I come to the table to play a game, I want to be able to be passive. Like I want to be brought on the journey, kind of like a TV show. I hate TV shows where it's like we're going to give you some eclectic ending where you get to figure out how it plays out. And it's like, no, like you're telling me the story. Tell me the story. You know,
It's the baby narratives for me. I hate the baby story arcs. They're the worst. Unrelated to board gaming, I just wanted to throw that out.
you just don't like babies.
I don't like babies.
The baby art. Oh, you mean like holding your hand through the?
No, like the
Scenario?
literal, like,
I think he
this is
means
the baby,
babies.
the Destiny Child, the baby. Oh, we gotta take the
Oh,
baby to
gotcha.
like
So
the baby is not a
you're like-
character.
He was a guy in life who was like, "Oh, you just had a baby," and he's like, "Flick that thing out of the car."
Yeah, is that wrong?
Well, ask your wife. So
Submission challenge. I kind of me if I had to pick one, it'd probably be submission. I like to just lose myself as a mindless pastime of me just focusing on that kind of. It's a little different for me because I like a challenge as well. So I was answering it. It'd probably be a challenge, but also submissions is very important to me because I play games to lose myself for hours and just don't think about everything else that's going on in this horrible world that we live in. And I know it means a little different by submission. So game is a mindless, you're not thinking about it. But I think that when going over this list, that's why I found some problems with it. I thought, for me personally, I didn't really fit one of these. I like Fellowship.
There's a ton.
Like, so this kind of falls in with there. But my favorite, if I had to pick one favorite, it'd probably be challenge.
yeah.
Like I like a good challenge in a game. I like my mind to be working a little bit, but I also want it to be a pastime of like escaping
Yeah.
into reality. For
Well, see, I would actually say, like, to look at that list, like, I would say a fellowship narrative would be my true answer. To blend them into actually just one type of experience, because to me, like I said, I love a narrative, but to sit and enjoy the narrative, like, I could sit here and play ISS Vanguard by myself, and it's like, oh, this is fun. But when those wild moments happen and you're kind of like by yourself, it's
Yeah.
like, oh,
part of the enjoyment of board gaming for me is fellowship and discovering something new with some, I think that's you discover a mechanic that's not been discovered yet, or you feel like it's something that you rarely use. I think those are some of my like aha moments where I just fall in love with the game immediately.
Yeah.
And also I've got this thing where I go in with a very negative attitude, play the game and go, oh, it'll just completely switch the switch will go for me. And I discovered something new and I enjoy it more because of it. So I think discovery is in every game, but I think for this, it means like game is an uncharted territory. So you're uncharted, like you're flipping. I would assume like a tile flip game or like a Carcassonne where you're grabbing stuff and you're slowly building this world of something,
No, there's all of those are in like almost every genre of game that you play. Like I was thinking Fellowship and Discovery, like Blood on the Clock Tower, your social deduction games where you're all like working together, but sometimes not, and you're just figuring that out. And there's no tile flipping in that.
Yeah.
But
I guess
Discovery was
a little
like
different.
Yeah,
I guess discoveries and all of it. Those are just things that I pulled 8kindsofFun.com is what I found. And then again, it's all over BGG where people are explaining, and I like this game because of expression or because I get to discover or some sort of things like that. So I just wanted to bring it up. I thought it was a good topic. And since I'm not in charge of the content, I thought it would be great to bring it up and daring my feet to the fire.
Well, thank you, Dion and That's French.
That was French.
Okay, very authentic.
That was very. I think
nasally. I learned that in high school.
well, just real quick, going back to
Do you think you have the power to say that on our
real
show?
quick.
I just want what would be an example of an expression game?
A game as a soapbox. The only thing I can think of off the top of my head.
D&D?
I don't. Maybe, but I don't. I could think of like what's that game that was Shay's game of the week before, where you're picking a class and you're using that to prove a point of
Hegemony.
hegemony or hegemony, whatever. That one maybe. I don't know. I'm just shooting a shot here, so I don't know.
The comments will correct it.
Yeah, the comments will correct us. So put in your comments which game you liked or what do you liked about game. I don't know.
I heard our father's work is overrated.
It's not. Stop it. Why would you say that?
With comments.
All right, well, that's a good time for us to go ahead and thank our partners once again. Thank you to really, please keep it up, Stonemeyer Games. Thank you. Regardless of this episode with Mike here. Also, of course, as always, Voss Media. So again, if you made it here, God bless you. We appreciate you. With that said, gentlemen, anything you want to wrap up with?
No, thanks for letting me step in here. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, enjoyed you. Nice. Yeah, fresh blood.
You made Dion cry. That was amazing.
I was laughing so hard.
Oh, you know they're going to see that. So
I don't know if they'll see that either. But I was laughing so hard. I had so much fun this episode that I was crying. So it was amazing. So
perfect.
Thank you and like, subscribe, tell your friends. Appreciate that little button that you push there. So it means a lot to us to do so, and we appreciate it. And if you're ever in the area of Kalamazoo, Battle Creek, Michigan, stop by Galesburg, Michigan at beautiful Voss Media Board Game Cafe. I would love to show you around.
Yep. And in the meantime, never forget, champions never stop playing.